Welcome to the Secret of Oneness. My name is Stephen. I know that you know me because we are one. Tonight I'm going to talk about a subject called Speak It, Give Life to the Dead. And I'm going to start off with a quote by Neville Goddard. And it says here, the clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself to your ideal with such awareness of its reality that you begin to live the life of that ideal and no longer your own life as it was prior to the surrender. So he quotes a scripture here, and it's Romans 4:17. And it says, he calleth things that are not seen as though they were, and the unseen becomes seen. And that's Romans 4:17. And I just want to remind everybody that everything that I talk about is in the description below. And I also have one-on-one coaching in the description if you need that. But as I always tell people, you don't need a coach. You don't need me. You don't need any coach. You just need your I am within you, and that is sufficient. So this is called Speak It, Give Life to the Dead. And so this is going to be more for people that are trying to manifest something impossible, like a terminal illness that's happening in your family or even friends. Someone's missing, an impending tragedy, anything that's really seems to be impossible. I'm going to cover some things here, but I first want to mention that I have done this in the past. I don't want to give too much details, but I have on this, I've had people that I've talked about, that I've talked to have done the same thing. It's nothing's impossible with God. Everything's possible. And so again, Romans 4:17, it says, in the presence of him who he believed, that is God, who gives life to the dead and calls things into being, things that do not exist. So the word life here in the Greek, it means to make alive. It means to quicken or animate. Figuratively, it cause what is dead or inoperative to have life, empower with divine life. So I want you to notice here, it's just not life as in somebody being alive, but it also says something that's inoperative. So something that's not working, okay, that seems to be dead and have no life. So you can empower that with divine life, okay? And the word dead in the Greek, it means necrosis. It means a corpse or a dead body. And again, the word in Greek here is 3498, and it's necrosis, but the adjective it's derived from is nektys. Nikes. So it says here that dead means literally like what lacks life. Dead, or figuratively, it means not able to respond to impulses or perform functions. Unable, ineffective, dead, or powerless. It means unresponsive to give life-giving influences or even opportunities, inoperative to the things of God. So here in the scriptures, it talks about how you can call those things that are dead, inoperative, not functioning with divine life to bring them back and quicken them or animate them. Okay? And the word call means calleth, and it means the Hebrew equivalent is often associated with a word called quora, and it also means to call or to summon. So when you summon life into something that's dead, it must come to life, okay? So summon here means to authoritatively or urgently call on someone to be present or urgently demand. So when you're calling on someone to be present, again, it could be somebody who has a terminal illness, somebody who's gone missing. It could be anything that's impossible or even an impending tragedy that you know could possibly happen. And here I put the scripture as God or source within you is able to empower divine life into anything that is ineffective, dead, or powerless by authoritatively demanding they be present. And that's going to lead me into the next scripture here, because these are kind of tied together. I actually started with Romans 4:21. And that scripture is, and being fully assured that what God has promised, he was able to also perform. And I wanted to do that scripture initially because, you know, we talk about being source, that we are God, that we are the universe within. And I wanted to talk about that to show and prove that as long as you have God within you, that you know that you have God within you, and if he's promised something, if he says that it's possible, that you're able to perform it because you're one, okay? But because I was reading that and I started going through the scripture and I looked at the Neville Goddard quote and he had quoted Romans 4:17, I wanted to put these two together because these kind of go together about calling things that are dead back to life and being fully assured that what is within you, the God within you, the source within you, that has promised it, he's able to perform it, no matter how impossible it may look, okay? So Romans 4:21, I'll read it again, and being fully assured that what God has promised, he was able also to perform. In the Greek, it means, and having been fully assured that what he had promised, able he is also to do. Now that's how it's written in Greek. Now, having been fully assured in the Greek, it means to fully carry through. It is used of God's power bringing the believer to maximum potential, matching their true knowledge of him. And he had promised in the Greek means the definition is to promise, to proclaim, or to announce. So I have it written here that being entirely confident what God proclaimed and announced would be seen. Okay. And now I put both verses together that I've kind of paraphrased. And this is kind of how I would say this, that God or source within you is able to empower divine life into anything that is ineffective, dead, or powerless by authoritatively demanding they be present. Being entirely confident what God's source or you proclaimed and announced would be seen. So you have to remember here that when you're operating in oneness and declaring the unseen to be seen, you're declaring that to be made visible right now. You're saying, I'm declaring this to be visible. I'm declaring this to be present. I'm declaring the situation to have life. So when you have someone who may have a terminal illness, it may seem impossible. It may seem like, man, I can't do that. That's just, that's just too hard. How can I believe that? But I want you to understand here, it says that having been fully assured in the Greek, it says that it's used of God's power bringing the believer to maximum potential, matching their true knowledge of him. So when you match the true knowledge of him, when you're matching that true knowledge of who you are, when you fully come into knowing that you are God, when you come into that full knowing that you are the I am, when you fully come into that and you know your identity as Christ, as God, you have reached maximum potential, okay? And your true knowledge of him, who is you. I want to point this out also. I don't have this written, but I want you to know that the word him, and I think I've mentioned this in a video before, but the word him in the original Greek is the word autos, and it means self emphatically. So when it talks about him in the scriptures, it's talking about you. It's saying autos, which means self. So when it says the true knowledge of him, it's saying the true knowledge of yourself because you're one. And when you're one, then you have the true knowledge of yourself. And you are able to carry out, you're able to call forth any situation into existence. Because remember, every possibility is already there. All possibilities exist. There's nothing impossible with God. And I kind of mentioned earlier about a situation, and I'll give you a little bit of details. It was several years ago, and I had gone on Facebook and I had seen a situation that was very unfavorable. It involved a child, and I just, I didn't think about it much. I just saw the post, I saw what was going on, and I simply closed my eyes, and I imagined in my mind seeing another post with a different picture, with a joyful ending. And I saw that in my imagination. I experienced the joy of knowing that this had been brought to completion. I knew it, and I experienced it within. and I just dropped it. And hours later, I happened to open up my phone, open up Facebook, and I saw right there in the front that picture that I had seen in my imagination was nearly identical to what I had seen on Facebook. It was nearly identical. And I do talk to a lot of people that manifest, that are coaches, and somebody the other day had reached out to me and gave me a story very similar to that, where they had come across something that looked very impossible from the looks of it. And they said that they had just went in and declared something, that this is how the ending was going to be. And within 24 hours, everything turned around. And so I'm not just telling you these things because it sounds good. I'm not telling you these things because I want to make you like these teachings that I'm doing, or these postings, or I'm trying to get you to manifest something. This is your identity. This is who you really are. This is the power that you have within yourself. And you can see the unseen come to life, no matter what it is. Again, it can be a terminal illness. It can be somebody who's missing. It can be anything, because nothing's impossible with God. So if you have a situation in your life that looks impossible, just know that it's not. See that situation is turned around and know that it's done, and call that thing into being.